Hi, my name's Katie and welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be doing another canister filter cleaning. I know that you guys tend to like when I post these videos and it's something I've got to do, so I thought I may as well film it again. What I've got here is a 6-foot water box Lake Malawi African cichlid tank, and on either side of this tank I've got two FX6 Fluval canister filters. And this tank's been running for just over 2 years now, and these filters have been doing great. The only issue I really had was vibration at one point, and I fixed that by putting some noise cancelling pads on either side. But today I not only want to do a cleaning of the canister filter on this side, I also want to add some Seachem Purigen into my canister filter too. I've got some in there already, but it needs to be recharged if I want to reuse it. So what I've actually done is I've just gone and I've bought some more from aquariums, and I got a little bag to put it into. So we're going to put some brand new Purigen in there. And my reason for doing that is the Purigen just gives it this beautiful clear look. So it's no secret anymore, my Tanganyika tank, because I've just posted a video on setting up that African cichlid tank. But you'll notice how the water, it's just so nice and clear. And with my new Tanganyika tank set up, I want to take full advantage of these two beautiful tanks together and make them look as lovely as possible. So we're going to get onto that today. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a like. And if you want to see more of my content or you're just enjoying it, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. It helps so much when you show that support, and you can hit that little bell icon to get notified each time I upload a new video. Let's get into the video and clean this canister filter and add our Purigen. What we've got here is we've got a bucket to empty our canister filter. We have got a hose and we've got a towel just for any spillage, which is probably going to happen at some point. And the first thing that we need to do once it's off is we need to close our valves. So that's where the water comes into the filter and then goes back out into the tank. The first valve we're going to close is our outlet, which is where the water comes out into the tank. So just close that as so, and then we're going to move and close our inlet just by pulling that tab towards us. Nice and easy. Now that's turned off, what we're going to do is this little section down here, we're going to take this off. We're just going to pop it on. Then what we're going to do is sit the end of this into our bucket. The bucket's already got some water in it. Open this up. And some water's going to start to come out a bit, but to actually get it flowing, we need to remove our outlet valve. So to do that, all we're going to do is hold down on this little tab here and then pull upwards. And it kind of helps if you twist it a little bit as you do that. Eventually it'll come off. There we go. All right, now our water's actually flowing in, and that's going to just empty the bulk of the contents of the water. So it's going to be a little bit lighter and more movable. It is not going as great as it sometimes would because we're getting a bit of air here because it's not a tight fit, but that's okay. It'll be enough. It'll do. We can close our little exit point up and get this off. Just before we lose them, we'll pop our little bits back on our little cover on here. All right, we're not going to need this water because we're going to use water from the tank to clean all of our filter insides out. So all we've got to do is we've got to take our other valve off. So just same thing again. So it's still a little bit heavy, but it's much more movable compared to when we had it full of water. So now I've got our canister filter out. What we need is a way to clean it. And what we don't want to do is, if we're planning on putting it back on a functioning tank and it's a filter that's been running for a while and has an established bacteria colony in there, we don't want to hose it out with chlorinated water because that's going to kill some of our bacteria. If it is a really well-established filter, sometimes it will still survive. You won't be able to kill the whole bacteria colony, but just to preserve as much as possible, it's a good idea to make sure that you use tank water to clean it. So to do that, what we're going to actually do is we're going to put a pump into our African cichlid tank, and we're going to pump out the water from there. And what I've got is it's connected to an irrigation system in the backyard, so the water from the tank is going to travel through the hose to out here. And what we'll do is we'll use the end of the hose that's just here to actually wash out our filter. I am undoing all of the little white tabs that hold our lid on, and these are really vital that when you put your canister filter back together that you don't miss a single one and you make sure that they are nice and tight. I find that You don't want to put them all the way down because sometimes they fall out and it can be a little bit annoying to get them back in. And now we're just going to lift our lid off. Canister filter is quite dirty, so we've got this mechanical filtration. Its job is to catch debris and particles from the tank. It's doing its job, it's catching plenty. This finer filter pad, which is just a Seachem one of the blue ones, is also doing a good job catching lots of debris. And then let's check out underneath here. We have our actual biological media that houses a lot of our bacteria. So this is just a porous type of material that has a lot of surface area. All of this stuff here that you can see sitting on top of it is taking up some of that surface area where our bacteria colony would like to live. So what we want to do is we want to clean all of that off and not use tap water. We're going to use tank water to do that. For taking out these trays, normally you have a little red line, like a little red bar that goes down each side and holds them all together. But I took mine out because I thought it was contributing to the vibration noises and I wanted it to be as silent as possible. But that means that I just have to hand take these all out. And so it's quite dirty. This really needs a good clean. It's been about half a year since I actually cleaned this filter. I did the other one 3 months ago. Let's start by pouring out all of this water, and then we need to get our pump in the tank and our water flowing so that it can come out of this hose here and we can give all of these a clean. Pretend that all 3 trays are on there. What happens is the water travels down into your filter and then it goes up through these sponges and they catch all the yucky stuff, and then it goes back down through your center part. Some people clean these sponges on the outside with tap water and just do the tank water for the stuff that's in the middle, because these get pretty disgusting. And yes, these will be holding some beneficial bacteria, but in the case where my tank has been established for a couple of years and I've got an extra canister filter on it, what I'm actually going to do today is use the hose to clean these bulky sponges, which are your outside mechanical filtration. Next part, what we're going to do is we're going to take our lids off. These are just netted lids that I got from MVS aquariums. It's really important to have your lids with African cichlids because they will jump, they spook each other, or you spook them, or they're being aggressive. So it's just to be safe. And they're from the Sunshine Coast, but they do ship worldwide. I highly recommend them. Nick, who makes them, is awesome. So now our lids are off, what we're going to do is turn off our other canister filter, turn off our 2 UVCs and our heater. I would sometimes leave my wave maker on because I use that to stir up all of the debris from in the rocks and then siphon it out. But for now, let's just turn everything off and just focus on getting this canister filter cleaned. This is just a AquaPro AP3000 water feature pump, and we're going to get the 19mm hose from in the garden and connect that to here and pop it in the tank to start our irrigation system going. And I just let my hose just sit out here where it's convenient to get. If you're interested in seeing how I set up this whole irrigation system, I've got a video on it that I did a while ago. So we'll just pop the end of our hose on here, pop that in our tank. Now we just turn it on and we can get pumping. I do try to keep up with doing an 80% change every week. Sometimes it's like every 8, 9, 10 days, but weekly I try to stick to. And people often say that's so much and so much effort, but when you set up a system like this and you're not using buckets and it's super convenient, it's so easy, because all I do is I put a pump in my tank and it goes into the garden, it waters my garden, and it is a little bit of effort still siphoning out the poop and everything. But if you ever need to do a really quick water change and your priority is to just change the water, this can be a really nice fast way of doing it. We've got some of our tank water just coming out on the end of the black hose here, and then in our garden too, we are watering the garden at the moment with these little sprinklers that are all connected. If I completely open this, doing it this way, then they stop, and what happens is instead we have a much higher flow just coming out here. So if I want to do a really quick water change and I don't need to water the garden, I can just go full flow, or I can turn it down, which I'll do now, and soften that flow. And I think that that should be pretty decent for cleaning our tank, and our garden can also get a really nice little water. I'm just going to grab all of these gross ones and I'm going to pop them in our canister filter casing. So we can just give them a little hose with tap water and do that while we clean the casing. Now what we've got to do is wash out all of our trays. We're just going to run it through the tap water, as so, get all of that debris off it, give them a good clean. And so this is just one of the Seachem filter pads. I've had it on here for over half a year. I'm not sure exactly how long, but they last pretty good because you just clean them like this and get all of that gunk out. We end up with a nice clean pad. When I was in America, I was talking to my friend Dan, and when I brought up green ants, he was like, what? He's like, there's ants that sting you in the grass in Australia? And I was like, yeah, is that not normal in other countries? So do other people have green ants that will sting you when you're on the grass? Because they're super common here. Same with bindies. They're like little, like spiky seeds that get in your foot when you walk over grass in summer. Get our little bacteria all nice and clean, or our little bacteria holding cells, I guess you can call them. Alrighty, so I've got our baskets all clean here now, and what I'm going to do is, because we just have to make sure we keep an eye on our water level, it is getting a little bit low, so what we'll do is we're going to actually turn this down in terms of the part that's coming out the end here, to slow it down a little bit and get it coming out here. We've got 3 separate baskets here. What we've got on this end is our first one that our water goes down, so we've got a bunch of mechanical filtration in there, and then underneath we have some of the biological filtration. So these are the wrong way around. Then this is our middle tray here. On the end you might like to put your chemical filtration, so that's anything that changes the water chemistry. So you can put things like activated carbon in here to take out impurities. You can put things like crushed coral to raise your pH. But the main reason for putting chemical filtration last is if you're going to put something in like carbon or Seachem Purigen like what we are today, then what that does is it removes some of the waste that your bacteria like to feed on. So that's why it can be a good idea to put it last, just so that we're not removing too much waste. We also don't want to forget we're going to have to clean out our casing over there too. Let's stack these up, get them out of the way so they don't get any tap water on them, and let's just give our casing a clean so we don't have to do it afterwards, because that'll be annoying. I think this is probably the best clean these sponges have ever gotten. I also turned my pump off because it was getting a bit low. So now our canister filter casing and insides is all clean, it's time to put our Purigen in. So what we've got here is we've got our Purigen and we've got a bag to put it in, because the Purigen is so fine. I'll show you what it looks like. You can see that it's very, very fine, that most netted bags, if you put it in there, it'll just fall out. So that's what this bag is for. It's like $20, but I think it's worth buying. I did buy this, by the way. This is not sponsored or anything. So what you get is a nice thin, tiny little holes so it won't fall out, and then you get this, which you're going to use to tighten it and keep all of your Purigen inside. And it gives you instructions on how much to put in. You don't need all of this. Because I put it in my filter before, I can kind of just like eyeball it. That seems pretty good. That might be a little bit too much, but let's just start with that. Then we just put our little zippy tie thing on the top, down to where our Purigen is, and tighten it like that so it can't come out. And then what it is recommended to do too is just wash it with some tap water before you pop it in. We don't want to take too long doing this because our bacteria needs to get back in water. Let's just pop it where we've got some space down the bottom here, and that's in our bottom tray. So that's going to be the first one to go back into our casing. We want our bottom tray with our chemical filtration to go in first. Then we have our middle tray with most of our biological media, and then finally on top where the water will touch first, we have our mechanical filtration. All right, so that's all ready to go back. We're going to fill this up with some tank water, and then it'll be ready to plug back in. I did just take the pump out of the tank too because it was getting too low, and I want to siphon a little bit of waste out, so I didn't want it to get too low. All right, so we'll pop it in while it's nice and light, and get the little feet all lined up. That looks good. Our feet are on there. No part is touching the side of the tank and going to vibrate. Alrighty, so we've got our little hose. We're going to pop it in the tank then we're just going to suck on the end and get some water flowing into our canister filter. Just going to stick that in the hole. What you just want to be mindful of is up here, just don't let your siphon accidentally start sucking in sand, because we don't want sand going into our canister filter. I just remove the top two little sponges so I can see once the water gets to that red casing. You want to fill it up as high as possible, being mindful that you are going to have to stick your lid in here with its pipe, and that's going to take up some surface area, and so if you fill it right to the brim it will overflow a little bit. But you also don't want to go do the mistake of being too low, because then you're going to have to manually add some more water in, which is quite annoying. As you can probably see, it's pretty full, and the fuller it is, the easier it's going to be to purge that air out of there. And then we've got our lid, which we're just going to pop in as so, like that. And it might overflow a little bit. No, we're good. Yay! Okay, now here comes the very, very important part. This part is vital. So above all else, we must make sure that we screw every single last one of these little things on, and we don't miss a single one, or we're going to have liters of water on our floor. I've done it before. You can kind of do it like putting a tire on, and do it each one opposite from the other. I'm just going to run my hand along and make sure. Yep. Okay, good, we're good to go. Excellent. Now what we can do is we can clip these back in, just making sure we put the correct ones where they're going to go. So our outlet one back on, and to do that you're just going to push it on as so, really easy. And then our inlet, also just pop it on. If you've been on my channel before, you've probably heard me say this and seen me do this a million times, but I've just got a siphon and it runs into my laundry tap, and all I do is I just go suck on the end and hopefully not suck in water. Now our siphon is going. I'm just going to quickly take out as much poop as I can from the tank, because what that's going to do is it's just going to reduce the amount of ammonia that is in the tank, and then reduce our nitrates. I'm just going to finish doing this, and then we're going to fill our tank back up and get our canister filter on. I've just added in my hose as well, and so that is just connected to the laundry tap. But the first thing that we have to do before we turn our tap on is add some dechlorinator. I'm just using Seachem Purigen, sorry, Seachem Prime as my dechlorinator, and I'm just going to pop in 2 capfuls right where the water comes out of the tap. All right, and just be careful because this will stain, so you don't want to get it on your clothes and stuff, or put it on a good table. All right, now let's turn our tap on. Every time before I turn the tap on, I always just let it run into the sink for a bit to get out any stagnant water that's been sitting in there. If it's wintertime, I have to put it on a little bit warm, otherwise my temperature drops like 4 or 5 degrees, which is a bit much, like 1, 2 degrees, 3, normally pretty fine, but you don't want to go more than that. But because it's been quite warm here lately, it should be okay just to have it on normal room temperature. And we can fill our tank up. But there's one more thing that we need to add as well. So what I also add is some buffer. I just use this Malawi Victoria Lake buffer, and all that does is it raises my pH from, it'll normally stay around about an 8, because this holy rock in here raises the pH a bit and stops it from going down to the tap water, which is about a 7.8. So what I do is I have to add 8 teaspoons of this all together, and I just add it straight where the water's coming out and it starts to dissolve there, and I just add 4 teaspoons at a time. So I'll add 4 now, then once it gets to about here, I'll put the wave maker down a bit, add it in front of the wave maker, let it blow into the water, and that just helps to reduce the swing of our pH from that tap water that's going in. And now I've got my Tanganyika Cichlids. I don't want to get it mixed up with my Tanganyika buffer, because this will raise the pH to a 9 to a 9.4, so a little bit too high for these guys. Now it is kind of a waiting game, but there's a few things you can do while it fills. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give the outside of the glass a little clean, because we get lots of splash marks from these guys. They're very cheeky and they splash at the top. And then we'll also just go through with my flipper cleaner and get some of the algae off the inside, and it's going to look beautiful. But the one thing that would be nice is I've got some bristlenose catfish in there, and when they were younger, you'll see all this algae on the rocks, this blackbeard algae. They used to do a great job at eating that, but now they're older and I think they breed and stuff, they're a little bit lazy. So it would be nice to get rid of some of that, which I may start to work on doing. but for now we'll just clean the glass. Our tank is all filled up now. So I filled it up nice and high, and I've just given the inside a little bit of a clean and wiped the outside. I would really like to get some RO water for wiping the outside so it doesn't leave watermarks. That would be good. And our tank is a little bit murky because I've also just run my finger along the sand and kind of got some of that algae that was on the sides there. I should really be taking that off and giving the propeller a clean. I bought a screwdriver set, and because it's one way you can change the end, it doesn't actually fit. So I'm gonna have to buy another screwdriver to do that, and I just haven't got around to that, which is a little bit frustrating, but that's okay. So let's get this filter turned back on. I'm going to open our inlet valve, and that's going to let any of the water that was in that pipe flow into our canister filter. And then now that's happened, I'm going to open our outlet valve as well. And then what that will do is sometimes it will push some of the air out into there. We are good to turn on. All right, there's a bunch of air. What's going to happen is it is going to, guys, stop splashing me. It's going to stop in about a minute, and then it's going to turn back on and try and purge a bunch of air out of it. So don't be too concerned if it stops after you turn it on, but if it doesn't turn on at all, sometimes that means you might have sand in your impeller, and you can take it all apart and clean your propeller, or you can do the unadvisable thing and just kind of like turn it off and shake the filter a bit and move the propeller, like cartridge, what would you call it? Thing that contains the propeller a little bit, and sometimes that works. That's what I've done, but I'm not saying that you should do that. Cool. So we've got one on. Let's turn our other filter on so that they can start clearing this water. There we go, it's just turned off now, so it'll turn back on soon and purge. And our other one is on too. Perfect. It's 4:27 at the moment, or we'll say 4:30, so we'll come back soon and it'll be nice and clear. I'm silly and it is just past midnight and the fish are meant to be way asleep, but I got distracted eating dinner and then editing a reel, and I completely forgot to do my outro for this video. So it's obviously nice and clear and clean now. It has been a few hours, or like 4 or 5 hours, since I turned the filters back on, and as you can see, the water's looking nice and beautiful, and it's going to stay probably quite nice and maybe get even a little bit clearer with the Purigen. It's looking really, really nice and clear. Let's go have a look through the other tank, see what it looks like. But yeah, looking really, really beautiful. So I'm filming this 2 weeks later, so since then I've done one water change a week ago, and I'm due to do one on the Lake Malawi cichlid tank, I've got to say now, since I've got 2 African cichlid tanks. I'm due to do one on this tank now. I just did a water change on the Tanganyika tank. And so I thought though what I would do before I clean the algae off the glass or anything, I just wanted to show you the clarity of the water. So the water still has a green tinge to it because the ultraviolet clarifier is what helps take that algae out. And I've only got one that's working at the moment when it really needs 2. So even though it's green, it definitely improves the clarity. You'll just see that it's so clear. So there's not many particles that are in the water, and that's a thing that I always find happens when I add the Seachem Purigen, is it just makes it very, very nice and like crisp and clear. So that's the purpose behind it, and this is how clear it looks even with, you know, algae on the glass and everything like that as well. So it just does that really nice job at taking out particles from the water. This tank is nice, it has a sump. Makes life a little bit easier. If you need to change things like Purigen, you don't have to do much. So all that it does here is I've got my little bag of Purigen, and it just sits at the last spot where the water goes back into the tank. And I think this Peninsula tank, the glass is a little bit clearer. They're both low iron glass tanks, but I think being a Peninsula tank, they make it even a little bit clearer because you have to be able to see through 2 panels of glass. As always, let me know if you found this video helpful and what you think in the comments down below, and let me know if there's anything that you would like to see in future videos too, or anything else you would like to know about either of these tanks. I'm going to be doing lots more content on the Tanganyika tank now that it's all set up. If you're enjoying the content, don't forget to subscribe. It helps so much when you show your support like that, and I really appreciate it. And you can hit that little bell icon so that you get notified when I make new uploads as well, which are generally around once a week, but they're not completely regular. Sometimes sometimes it'll be every fortnight and different days and stuff. So that's it for the video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Give it a like if you did, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks African cichlids for waking up for us. Let's drink some water. Okay, let's try that again. It's because my water level's a bit low.